The auction barn was crowded with men who had come to buy timber and tools. No one expected a woman to be led onto the platform. But when the drunk father dragged his daughter up the steps, shouting about her uselessness, the room went quiet. "She's deaf," he said. "Take her." "I don't want her anymore." The men laughed, some uncomfortable, some cruel. A few looked away, pretending they had not seen. The woman stood on the platform, her hands bound, her face a mask of nothing. She had learned long ago to hide what she felt. There was no point in letting them see her bleed. No one bid. No one spoke. The auctioneer opened his mouth to call for the next item. Then a voice came from the back of the room. "I'll take her." A mountain man stepped forward, dressed in furs and leather, his beard thick, his eyes sharp. He walked to the platform, and the crowd parted around him like water around stone. He stood before her, looking at her with an intensity that made her want to look away, but she did not. She held his gaze, her chin lifted, her hands steady. He reached out, took her bound hands, and turned them over in his. Then he looked at the father, who was already walking away. "She's not worthless," he said. "You are." He cut her bonds with a knife she had not seen him draw. The rope fell to the floor, and she rubbed her wrists, watching him. He did not speak to her. He simply turned and walked toward the door. She followed. She did not know why. She had no reason to trust him. But her feet moved, and she followed. They rode in silence, his horse carrying them both up into the mountains. She sat behind him, her hands on his waist, her face turned toward the trees. He did not try to talk to her. He did not shout, did not gesture, did not treat her like she was broken. He simply rode, and she held on, and the world fell away behind them. His cabin was small, built of logs and stone, nestled in a valley that seemed to hold the light. He helped her down from the horse, showed her to a room, left her with a blanket and a basin of water. He did not ask her name. He did not tell her his. He simply left her alone, and she was grateful. That night, they sat by the fire. He did not speak, and she did not expect him to. But then he leaned forward, looked at her, and whispered something she did not expect. "I know you can hear me." Her breath caught. She had not told him. She had let everyone believe she was deaf because it was easier than explaining the truth. "How did you know?" she asked, and her voice was rough from years of silence. He shrugged, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Your eyes follow sound. Most deaf people do not do that. You pretend very well, but you are not deaf. You are just very, very good at hiding." She told him everything that night. About her father, the years of cruelty, the day she had stopped speaking because speaking only made it worse. She had let everyone believe she could not hear because silence was her only protection. He listened without interrupting, and when she finished, he took her hand. "You do not have to hide here." The weeks passed, and she learned to trust him. He did not ask her to speak, did not push her to be something she was not. He let her work beside him in the garden, let her cook his meals, let her sit by the fire in silence. And slowly, the walls she had built began to crack. He taught her to track, to hunt, to read the signs of the forest. She taught him to read her silences, to understand the language of her hands. They built a life together, wordless and full. And in the quiet of the mountains, something began to grow between them that neither of them had expected. One evening, as the sun set behind the peaks, he took her to a ridge overlooking the valley. The world was gold and purple, the shadows long, the air still. He stood behind her, his hands on her shoulders, and whispered into her hair. "I have been alone my whole life. I did not know I was waiting for you." She turned, looked up at him, and for the first time, she let him see her tears. "I have never belonged anywhere," she said. "I have never been wanted." He cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs wiping away her tears. "You are wanted here," he said. "You are wanted by me." The winter came early that year, snow burying the valley, the cold seeping through the walls. They stayed inside, huddled by the fire, surviving on what they had stored. She tautened the sign, her hands moving in the firelight. He taught her to speak again, her voice growing stronger with each passing day. In the spring, a rider came up the mountain. A man from the town, looking for the woman who had been sold, looking to collect the debt her father had left behind. He stood at the cabin door, his face hard, his hand on his gun. "I've come for her," he said. "She belongs to me now." The mountain man stepped in front of her, his rifle in his hands, his face calm. "She belongs to no one," he said. "She is not a thing to be bought or sold. She is a person, and she is free." The rider looked at him, at the rifle, at the woman who stood in the shadows. Then he turned and rode away. She stood in the doorway, watching the rider disappear into the trees. Her hands were shaking, her heart pounding. He came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her, and held her against his chest. "He will not come back," he said. "I will not let anyone take you from here." They were married in the summer, in the meadow behind the cabin, with the mountains watching and the wildflowers blooming. There was no preacher, no ceremony, no witnesses. Just the two of them, standing together, making promises that needed no words. He took her hands, looked into her eyes, and whispered, "You are home." On the night of their first anniversary, they sat on the porch, watching the stars appear. She leaned against him, her head on his shoulder, her hand in his. "I spent my whole life being told I was broken," she said. "But you never saw me that way." He kissed her forehead, her cheek, her lips. "I never saw anything but you," he said. And in the quiet of the mountains, a woman who had been sold for nothing and a man who had been alone for too long held each other in the darkness and knew that the silence between them was not emptiness. It was home.